For all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you.
Hey guys, this is the FANA Fan Podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe Skelton.
And I'm Topliss. And for all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you. Well done, lads. That weren't so hard, was it? Finally, all three co-hosts are here. It's fantastic to finally be here. And we've got a cracking episode to start that one tonight. We're joined by the gaffer and the chairman of Sheffield City Football Club. Dan, Ash, how are we doing, lads?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on at short notice. Great to have you.
Yeah, no problem.
So what we'll first start off with then is, how did Sheffield City come about? How long has it been going? And what sort of ambitions have we got for the club?
Well, if you want me to be honest, I was blind though when I come up with a plan on back of a Stella map. Showed it our lass and I just said, look, what do you think to this? And she looked at me, she went, it won't work. Me being stubborn, like I am, I thought, sod you. So next thing, we started off with 2 junior under 8s, went well back to front in COVID times. And then here we are now. We have about 15 teams under the name.
15 teams. Not bad going. So is that all the way from under 7s all the way up to open age?
There's under 7s, 2 under 8s, an under 9s, 3 under 10s, an under 11s, an under 12s, a men's team, women's team, a development side, the reserves, and there's going to be some girls' teams chucked in on top of that now.
Well, you played then, that's for certain.
Well, so yeah.
You did well to name them all as well, on top of your head.
There could be more, pal, to be fair. I probably forgot half of them. So it is what it is on that one, isn't it? But
So what about you, Daniel, then? How did you get involved with Sheffield City?
It was a bit of a bizarre story, to be honest with you. I'd had quite a bit of time off work through COVID, really, for some operations I'd had. And I went to work at a COVID centre just while I was waiting between operations. And Ash actually come in, and I was assistant at Frechville. Obviously the season when it first got cut with COVID. And we'd literally just, you know, the chairman had sort of folded the club, had pulled his money out and folded it because we didn't want to continue. And Ash actually come in for a COVID test where I was the manager of a COVID centre, and one of my friends were actually had been talking about the club, saying they were going to be going to trials with them. And obviously me being nosy, obviously I asked Ash when he come in because I'd seen badge that he'd got on, and he were a bit quiet at first, didn't really want to say anything. And then I'd actually got my Frechville hat on, and obviously he asked me about them. And then it sort of just, he opened up a little bit, and then, you know, halfway through that day, my friend messaged me and said, Ash wants to speak to you, you know, he's been asking a lot about you. And then obviously me and Ash sat on a phone call, and here we are, a year on.
Well, it certainly is a strange way of becoming manager of a team, but it's one you'll always remember, I suppose.
Absolutely.
The best things in life are always spontaneous, let me just say.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm actually going to take some time out as well. That's one of the reasons why I didn't go back to Frechville, and I'm just going to take a bit of time out because I knew the operation that I was having, I'd already had like 3, and they were quite big, so I knew the extent of the operation that I was going to have were quite big. So I'm going to take some time out, have my operation, because I knew it was going to be like an 8-month recovery. So I was like, no, and obviously Ash, being Ash, he could sell snow to whoever, and you know he managed to persuade me to come in and take job. So yeah, here we are.
So was that the right decision, Ash? You don't regret it at all?
No, to be fair, I mean, a year ago today, we were actually playing Prestatyn in Wales. It came up on my Facebook earlier on, and it's like what we both said to each other in the past few months and weeks and stuff. in this short space of time, what's being achieved, especially being a brand new setup at an adult level, is unknown. And what we've upset a lot of people. We'll both admit that, as in other clubs, but we're here for the right reasons and not wrong reasons. So
being based in Sheffield as well, obviously we have Sheffield FC, Hallam FC. There's quite a few other non-league teams as well as football teams. What are you wanting from Sheffield FC? Sheffield City? Are you wanting to be like the sort of the starter clubs, what then move on to these non-league sides? Are you wanting to get to that level yourself and compete with the non-league sides?
Well, we want to do what AFC Wimbledon did, if I'm honest with you. That would be an idea in setting club up. Obviously, circumstances and everything else were different. Don't get me wrong, but if they can do it, we can do it. Yeah, you need to sort of tighten your club up, as in like getting money behind you, getting fan interest, commercial interest, and everything else. But with right attitude and right personnel behind you, all can happen. Yeah, it's going to be difficult in obtaining fans from Wednesday United, and including yourself, Sheffield FC, but it's down to people, innit? They'll do what they want at the end of the day, but we've just got to sort of stand out in the crowd and obviously just sort of push on from there.
We certainly had a great season last season. In Division 2, you finished second. You've gone up to Division 1 this season. You've missed out on the league title to Silkstone as well. When you look at that, to have a great sort of first season out of COVID, where the club has been over, it was your birthday a couple of, the other day, wasn't it? To come out from that,
yesterday.
And to have yesterday it was, to come out from that and have a great,
Come on, Joe, let's get with it, man.
I know, professional, yes. To have a great first season like that, it's surely for the positives as well going forward, going into this season. The club's going to be bouncing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, from our point of view, it is. Obviously, we are getting a bit of a bigger, better, more presence on social media platform. Like today, 32-year-olds to start out to work TikTok. How's that work? You know what I mean? It's getting things like that up and running. I mean, stopping up until 1 o'clock this morning, faffing about, put it men's team on, put it women's team on. And it's like Simo pointed out earlier on today, one of the videos, I think it were over 550 views in each space of 3.5 hours. So everybody is starting to know who we are going forward, but a lot more work needs to be done going forward.
Yeah, all it takes is someone to score an overhead kick in a game, and there's an extra 100 on the gate, mate. Something to go viral on TikTok's all it takes.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, had 3 overhead kicks scored last season as well.
Did you get any recorded?
No.
I'm not sure. I think one of them first game of the season were, but the one towards back end of the season, which to be fair, it's my best friend Jay, and I mean his last club were Alfred in National League. His brothers are both professional. One's at Coventry, one's at Wrexham, and he's not played for years. And he turned up and just scored 4 goals in a game, and one at goals on edge at box. Somebody just put this ball in, and he's headed ball up into air, and he'd literally just overhead kick, and from edge at box, it had not even left his foot, and it were in top corner. It was just everybody just running round, didn't know what to do, because it was like something that you don't see that often, especially at these levels. So yeah, it was quite fun.
Well, when Joe comes and visits you sometime in the season, you know what your team talk's going to be now. Get those great goals then.
I'll make sure not to miss any goals like I did the other night, but there we go. For you, Simo, where does your footballing journey begin? So who was your kind of boyhood club that you supported growing up?
Fortunately for me, I managed to get back in the Premier League era with Wednesday. So my boyhood club were Wednesday, which we've not had great times, obviously, in the last 20 odd years, but we've been, like I said, I managed to get the back end, but yeah, that were kind of my start with going and watching Wednesday and growing up playing. So yeah, it weren't so good, but hey ho, somebody's got to support them.
Somebody's got to support them.
No comment. You're doing right now, working with Sheffield City and watching that anyway. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, I've not really been. Obviously, I used to play a lot on Saturdays myself and stuff, so I didn't really, you don't really get to many games, but obviously, it's always good. I always seem to get to an away game, which is obviously, we're up there with probably some of the best fans in country going away, and it's always a better experience. So, and I think it's probably said for both Sheffield teams, to be honest. We're probably both our fans away are better than they are at home.
I do agree with that one.
Yeah.
So, you said you was a player. How did you find being a player transitioning to the manager?
Well, as I said, I think you were at toilet when I was 24. I obviously curse of the old English player with second ACL tear, and that was me done. So I spent probably like 2 years out of game. I didn't want to see a football. I didn't watch any professional football or anything. And then it was only when one of my best friends asked me to come and help him coach that I actually started coaching again. So it was a pretty decent transition, to be honest. Sort of, I feel like I've probably got an half decent football brain, and the experiences that I'd had playing, I just sort of try and pass down really, and help out lads with as much knowledge as possible.
Would you say you've got that passion back now for football?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's I wouldn't change it. I actually met one of my friends earlier who I used to play football with, and he's on about joining coaching team, and we took our coaching badges together in 2014, and I said to him, I wouldn't change it. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant, especially going as obviously saying to Joe the other week at training. The players that we've brought in, a lot of them played in like Chesterfield 4th Division for a team that I were helping coach, and you see them not even getting hardly any game time at that division, and then they come to me and they're playing week in, week out, and one of them actually won Chairman's Player of the Year. So it gives you a kind of a good sense of feeling about what you're achieving and helping people achieve, because that's the main aim, as I've said to them all along, is I played at a good level and I want them to play at a good level. So anything I can do to help them out is only beneficial.
So for you, Ash, what make you run the football club? Of course, Simo runs the first team, the manager as well. What makes the relationship between you two work well within the football club?
Honestly, more than now. Yeah, I'll admit to you all now. I've said this to Simo. Going into it was like blind leading blind at first for me. I didn't have a clue what I were doing. Obviously, picked Simo's brains, vice versa, and here we are now. We've just sort of made it work between us, really.
Do you think in the next couple of years you want to be contested for promotion again, or do you think you could do that this season with just missing out?
Well, it's like what I said to Joe the other day when he come down to meet us. What we've got, obviously, what we did in league last year, it was like another Leicester City, if you get what I mean. So obviously, people weren't predicting us to do well in league. Obviously, teams sort of had that togetherness and that bond and brothership, let's call it. And then against all odds, it just did unthinkable, really, and just proved a point in the league and in local area and got promoted. So anything can happen at this club, never say never.
Well, what would you say, what are your favourite moments of last season were? Any moments that stand out?
I'll let you answer that first,
I don't know. There were quite a few, and I actually said it on our podcast. A lot of time, I'm sort of a perfectionist, and if it's not perfect, then it's not. We could win 2-1 or 3-1, but it's too close, and I don't like it. But I think the sense of satisfaction for me is just seeing the lads play how me and Ryan have taught them to play, what we envisioned and playing, like a possession-based football. And just knocking ball about, and I mean, the teams that are around us, we should have won that league comfortably, but we missed so many chances. I was saying to you, weren't I, Joe, that we our goal difference, we scored 60 goals and conceded 30. I think we finished leading scorers in league, but we scored 60, and we should have scored 130 to 140 goals quite comfortably. I mean, we lost to Swinton at home 2-1, and in first half we had 22 clear-cut chances, and then we had even more in second half, and we just couldn't score. What can I say? We've literally taken every team off at pitch this season, and we just couldn't score half at time, and that's been his biggest problem. Strikers were sick of me moaning at them, but you know, it's one of them things. But you know, we managed to get second place. Silkstone, we battered them at their place, lost narrowly, missed chances, and then we absolutely battered them 5-3 at our place. You know, and their manager come up and said, "You're your best team we've played all season, and you know, you've took us off pitch at our place and lost, and then you've took us off at pitch here at your place, you know, and you've sort of just got your just desserts there and gone on and won it." So it's, you know, they obviously congratulations to them. You know, they were a steady side all season, and they did what they needed to do. So it's fair play. That's football, isn't it?
Yeah, I do feel for you, because obviously I've coached teams like that before. Just can't score. It does your brains in, doesn't it? Hey, that netty thing, put it in there, not over there in the trees, in there. It's so frustrating sometimes.
Absolutely.
You don't know what to do in training, do you? Because you can't coach composure.
That's it, literally.
Do you think the standard of football as well in non-league, certainly over, you say, the last 2 years or so, has got better and better? And I think the standard of player as well, coming up, growing up as well, playing the game, do you think it's got so much better as well?
In my honest opinion, no, it's got worse. It's genuinely got worse. I've had this conversation with quite a few people, and it's just me being harsh, but obviously when I was playing back like 10 years ago, there's players now that shouldn't be anywhere near that kind of level of football, but they are, and that's just the way it is now. You know, with many players wanting to play on Saturdays, there's teams dropping out left, right, and centre. You know, like Frechville went bust, and they'd been going for nearly 100 years or so, and they just couldn't get the players and stuff like that. So it's one of them. But I think are getting better, so styles of play are getting better. It's just always going to be hard at the lowest league and non-league what we're playing, because you're just basically getting the ones that aren't good enough to play, like NCEL, stuff like that. But obviously that's how football works, and it doesn't help that Sunday teams now are actually starting to pay stupid money to players, and they'd rather play Sundays than they would Saturdays, because they're not getting paid on Saturdays, and if they are, they might be getting 20-30 quid, whereas on Sundays, you know, they can be getting out from 100 up to 500 quid. So it's kind of stupid money on Sundays, but people are going to go and earn money on Sunday morning, aren't they?
Yeah. Ash, do you think that's something that is a quick fix, or do you think that's something that is probably maybe going to get worse over time?
It'll probably get worse over time, to be fair. Obviously, from our point of view, tying everything up with us, our education programme will bring a lot of revenue coming in from next year onwards. So this is sort of our blueprint. I'm not going to say too much, because obviously other people will be watching it, but this is what's going to sort of eventually be sort of making the coin for us coming through those, really. So I'm not getting too much away, so don't ask me out on that.
We wouldn't expect anything less.
I've only got 5 more questions on that, sorry.
No comment.
So, just for the people what are watching and sort of intrigued of Groundhoppers in general, whereabouts is your home pitch?
St George's Park, Graves.
The old Norton College. I played on that playing field a few times.
Yeah, me as well.
It's definitely changed now.
So
Sure
Graves is in Meadowhead way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the Groundhoppers who are watching this, that's where next to where Sheffield FC's new ground is going to be.
Yeah.
Give them
I've got to
directions.
get it built yet. Go on.
On Meadowhead roundabout, turn left. It's on your right hand side.
Just behind the shopping centre.
Right, that'll do, Ben. You killed it.
Well, you need to know. They might go down Dyche Lane and just follow it to the where Sheffield FC are now. So is that going to be your home ground for a few seasons, or are you wanting to progress and own your own pitch at some point?
We want to progress. We do want our own facility, we want our own pitch and everything else, but it's just so difficult at the minute, especially in Sheffield, finding that right plot of land. We thought we had a breakthrough a couple of months ago, gone through all right channels, council, everything else. I found the actual owner of the land itself, and they were refusing to part ways with it. And this is what we've been up against, sort of trying to look for a right piece of land where we can just sort of build and then just sort of go from there, really. But it's just so difficult at the minute.
Sounds like a Stephen Bettis interview about Sheffield United and their new training facilities. This.
Now I'm better.
Yeah. It is tough though. It is a big struggle now in football, because obviously that's the one thing I spoke to one of the lads at FA the other day, and that's another reason why teams are going to struggle and players are going to struggle and stuff like that, because there's so high costs ground to play at a ground. I mean, we actually got a stadium, didn't we, Ash?
Yeah.
About a month ago, and we were going to be playing there. You know, it got a decent stand, brilliant, unbelievable facilities, and they wanted $7,000 a year to play there, and that were just games. So when you're looking at things like that, it just makes it really hard, and the council aren't willing to help. You know, they did something a few years ago about sport and everything, getting sport back, and they don't want to help. Whenever you do apply for anywhere, all they say is, "Oh, it's green belt, so you can't build on it." And they just throw any excuse into, I think, not to have to help. But then it doesn't help, because the decent facilities then start throwing stupid prices, and there's anybody can do, because costings are, there's nowhere else to play. So it's either pay it or don't play, I'm afraid.
It's such a shame, because when you come back to it, Sheffield, the home of football, you'd think that, especially the council, you think they'd do anything they can to promote football and make Sheffield visited more for it. Because I feel that that's something where, even though we're sort of the home of football, I don't feel like Sheffield's recognised enough when it comes to football.
But it's not. I mean, in my eyes, it's like National Football Museum. No disrespect to Manchester, but it should be in Sheffield, really. It should be in Sheffield Town Centre. Like you've just said, Sheffield were birthplace of football. Realistically, they need to be doing more for it. I mean, it was like a couple of years ago when I took Boris and government on in getting fans back into the ground. It's like I said to MP, in 2012, your quote was to inspire a generation to take part in sport. And obviously, at the time when COVID rules were in play, what were it going to be? Inspire a generation to have health issues and health problems. And at the end of the day, from my point of view, really, government are going to be looking at bigger picture with this. I don't know, let's say £100 million, right, let's get all these facilities built up and that. You know, it's, for this club, we want to be providing a legacy, because at the end of the day, we're not going to be around forever, but club will be. So, you know, plans and action needs to be took now, in my eyes, anyway.
Yeah, you need to leave that legacy.
It's quite a shame as well, because not far down the road from you, I think it's on the Jordan Fort Parkway, there was a pub there what used to have the land with all the pictures on, and you just see
That's what I was on about.
Yeah, I didn't want to send it home.
Yeah, it's so overgrown and stuff, and it's just. I mean, I played football in there plenty of times, and you're like, it's just rotting now, and places like that should be available to be built up and back into football. Give it the release of life what it needs again.
That was one of the things they said were that we couldn't build on it because it was Greenbelt, even though he'd put like plans in, and you know he'd got to sort of build a stand on it, other football and multi-sports use as well, and they didn't want to know. Just bounced the idea back.
There's so many stories about sport hating councils, though, mate. Honestly, it's a terrible shame. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you've all heard the story of Glatwell Football Club. I know some of us will have, but that was another council haters that ruined them back in the day. They'll probably never get back to the heights they were. It's just, I don't know why they do it. I don't know, because you've got a big opportunity here. Brand new club. Don't know, you don't know how high it could rise. You never know. Might take a few years for us to know.
They don't want to know it. That's bottom line of it all. Nobody were interested, and this is what the issue is. You're going to have that fight, obviously trying to get kids off the street, providing them like a safe space, let's call it, from your own facility. Yeah, you know, we're all blokes, we've all been around the game in some sort of capacity. Yeah, it needs money. Yeah, it needs that permission off it, whoever that it'll be. But if we're going to make a change within the area as well as the wider area as well, people are going to start listening to us. I mean, it's all right, local MPs jumping on bandwagon. Yes, I will help. I will give you that support. They don't. They're just like dinosaurs. And if I'm honest with you, get them out of power and get young, fresh blood on panel, and then just let them get involved and just sort of help us push and progress. Not just for this club, but for all clubs in general.
Yeah.
I think it's been ruined so much, and I think for me, it's from top to bottom. I think it's not just the government, but it is the FA at the same time, where they're not providing so much support to the clubs down at the bottom when they need it the most. They could cooperate with the government and cooperate with some of these football clubs and try and work out a solution, but they don't. And for me, it really hurts, like you say, when you have football clubs going under who've had hundreds of years of history, and you know they are the roots of English football. You know, there wouldn't be a Man United, it wouldn't be a Liverpool or a Man City without the clubs down at the bottom that are providing these young kids an opportunity to play football. And if you take that away, then you won't have an English football to come back to.
Yeah, but look at cuts what they've made, though, government, what are currently in power. I mean, obviously looking at research and everything else, Conservatives aren't for sport. They never have been and they never will be. Yeah, all right, Labour with previous regime, and it might have gone wrong, fair enough. But when you think about it here, what government actually got Olympic Games through, though? It was Labour. Yeah, Conservatives jumping on bandwagon. And you'll need to tell me all that money what we raised, obviously through competitions itself, TV rights, sponsorships or whatever, where did it all go? Because if I'm honest with you all, I don't see it being spent on any sporting facility at all, to be honest. I mean, look, at Don Valley Stadium, it got knocked down when we were at 2013-14. Then all of a sudden, nearly 10 years on from Olympic Games, they've just sort of got things in order. You know what I mean? Each younger generation, especially in football, what are going to suffer if something ain't done now.
Absolutely. I mean, but
even going to football now and you see how much money there is at the top level, it's just a shame it doesn't get tunneled all the way down the lower leagues as much as it probably should do.
Yeah, this is where it's wrong.
Yeah.
Man City could dodge financial fair play and just fund the whole thing.
Well, Newcastle. Super League, European Super League, learn it. Yeah, if they wanted to go, get them gone. Let them go. They're not part of the English pyramid. And at the end of the day, you look at any youth what sort of watching game. Oh, I'm a Man City fan. Oh, this is my favourite player. I mean, to be honest with you, it's disgusting. I mean, I've seen kids at football school turning up in PSG top. And if I'm honest with you, it shouldn't be happening. It should be having English teams on and having an English player on back at name, to be honest. And what type of hope is that setting for kids what, you know, we want to see progress through chain of command and basically get to the top? It don't fill me with confidence, if I'm honest.
It's all that kind of philosophy now of kids that are coming through that are trying to be like these Premier League footballers. And let's be fair, in some ways, there's nothing wrong with that in some ways. But I do think you're coming into kind of, some of them are coming prima donnas. in the way that they play and the way that they act, because they look on social media and they'll see like Jack Grealish is partying in Las Vegas till 4 o'clock in the morning, and they want to be like that. There's no real role models anymore growing up. When I was growing up, you had Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard. You had people like that you could look up to. Now there isn't really anyone you can go, I want to be like him. And it's such a shame that we don't have that anymore.
And then just to touch on that, they were leaders of men, those players you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
I don't see many leaders of men in today's game. There's not many Roy Keanes in today's game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of that is, as Roy Keane keeps saying, there's far too much going off outside of football, with their own clothing brands, stupid stuff like that. And I've said it for quite a while with Pogba. Look at Rashford and Lingard, how good they were for Man U. Pogba comes in, they start hanging about with him, then all of a sudden their careers go down pan. And it's just being influenced by bad people that are good footballers, and that's just the way it is now, Your Lampards and your Gerrards, they wouldn't have dreamt of doing outside of football. They devoted their career to football, and it showed because of how good they were. 100%. And then you look at like it's a Messi he's never in limelight. He's just gets on with his career, and he's probably the best footballer that we'll have ever seen in world football. I know there's a bit of a debate between him and Ronaldo, but for me, just the way he goes about his football, it's not all about him like it is Ronaldo. He's a team player, and he tries to, as he did with Barcelona, just get on with it and play football and win trophies. What it's all about.
So for you guys, and I'll put this question to all of you. So when Messi and Ronaldo do go, which they will retire, who is that next guy to go? I'm going to be the poster child. I'm going to be the one that's going to be winning the Ballon d'Ors every year.
A Sheffield City player.
Nice choice. Nice answer. Brilliant answer.
I don't know. I'd like to say Foden, but I think he's a bit easily influenced by certain things because Foden's just an unbelievable footballer. But Mbappe, I don't think it'll be Mbappe. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as what everybody makes out. And he's playing in obviously French league, which I think Sheffield City would probably do all right in French league, to be honest. So I'm not too sure on that one, but I'd like to think somebody like Foden, or like a Bellingham, a young English talent that if they just get on with the football, they can probably up there. Probably Haaland, see how he gets on.
Rice is a good one as well because it's a shame. It's a shame he signed his contract for as long as he did, but I feel like he could be a good one.
Yeah,
any Englishman, any Englishman, or Darwin Núñez. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of one of them. Like I do agree with Haaland. If he does well at Man U, he's going to be a world beater for the rest of his life. I mean, the service is going to be incredible. What he'll get.
Yeah, unbelievable.
At Man City, well, anyway, don't know about Man United. But...
Yeah, well, yeah, that's my bad. Sorry, man.
Yeah, just being that you've played football as well. You coach, you moved into coaching. What's been like? Non-league and maybe some of the football league and Premier League that you visited. What's been like the best ground that you've visited?
Best ground. But actually, no, that's quite a tough question. Obviously, Stamford Bridge. I went to Stamford Bridge to watch Wednesday against Chelsea. That's obviously a decent ground. To be fair, I went when Wednesday beat Milton Keynes the other month, and that's an unbelievable ground and setup they've got. Shame, obviously, it's them, but we're half empty. Well, 3/4 empty, to be honest. If it weren't for Wednesday fans, I don't think there'd be anybody there. But it's an unbelievable stadium, what they've built. But Camp Nou, unbelievable. I've been there before, so you know, for the size of it, probably Camp Nou, Wembley, when we played there. But yeah, they're probably up there for the best grounds I've been to.
What about you, Ash?
Difficult one. It's either PSG away or Bernabeu for atmosphere. PSG were quite intimidating because they were a bit of trouble. But Bernabeu, when I watched Spain play Italy, it was weird. I've never known an atmosphere. It's hard to describe. Just sort of sat at top tier at Bernabeu, and then just sort of hearing 80,000 Spanish fans sort of roll back in the team. It were one of them. I'm glad I did it because I probably never get to do it again. So
I need to do Bernabeu. It's just one of those where you just think, God, it's any of like some of the European clubs. I just want to go tick off because I've done loads of clubs in England.
yeah,
But
they're
those
better
European
abroad.
clubs, yeah,
They are better abroad.
something different.
When I went to PSG, I mean, that were quite intimidating, but it was intimidating in a good way. Sort of sat there having it like all fans sort of shouting abuse. So I'm like, yeah, you didn't have a clue what they were going on about, fair enough. But it was quite an hostile atmosphere. It reminded me of like Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, that type of atmosphere.
Well, this is the thing. I feel like at the minute, when it comes to sort of the English game, you are seeing more fans sneaking flares into games. But when you go abroad, there's flares all over, there's bangers all over, and that's sort of part of their atmosphere, and that's part of their culture. That it's always banned in England. I mean, I went to Venezia this season when they played Sampdoria, and I was watching a game with a pint in my hand. I could only dream of doing that at Bramley or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can sort of understand why it's not allowed because of the trouble what it does cause, but at the same time, it takes away a lot of the enjoyment. You'll see quite a lot of the time, especially if Sheffield United is having a shit first half. By 35 minutes past that, I'll be queuing up for a pint and not bothered about that 10 minutes of football. But it's a shame that you can't watch the game and have a drink at the same time. But in non-league football, I mean,
National League North downwards, you can, yeah. But another thing I want to touch on there, you know, when we're all watching England in the World Cup or Euros, and we're all in a bar, we're all stood with beers. When we score, where does the beer go?
Up.
Would that happen? Would that happen in the cup at Bramall Lane, Ben? If you
Probably.
score, exactly. And some people are not going to be happy with that as well. So that.
But then again,
I'm all for it. Just saying, you know, I don't mind.
But then again, how many games?
Mansfield away end. Honestly, that'd be big.
Maybe no one there in the Mansfield end.
There we go. Bit around.
There'll be some on September 3rd when we come to your place. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Well, when
it's
we
only
come
7
to
o'clock.
It won't be because it's behind closed doors.
Yeah, I think it's. I think a lot of time, depending on certain countries, obviously, but when you look at likes of Germany, Spain, majority of fans just sit in with each other. They don't care. And I go and watch Orlando City quite a lot, and that's exactly the same. They've got flares. I mean, in America, majority of games, that is their thing. They have flares on go up front at great games and stuff, and you just sit with a seat, with a pint, and they actually have cup holders in seats for you and stuff at Orlando's ground. Obviously, it's a new ground, but that kind of things that they do. But they all sit together, so it's just in England. You couldn't imagine Wednesday United fans sat together and just mingling in with each other and and drinking a pint, would you?
No.
Not at that extreme level, obviously, but I mean, we had a guy on last year who says he prefers watching non-league football just because he can watch it with the opposition. He says it's really nice atmosphere when you can do that.
Yeah,
which I can agree with. But
you can have a laugh. I think you can have a laugh with players as well. I mean, me and there's a couple of lads that play for Sheffield City, and one of the coaches, when we were at Fretchfield, we actually went to watch Dronfield Town against, I think it were Hall Road Rangers or something. And we just turned up to watch a game because our game had been cancelled on a Tuesday night. And honestly, all second half, we literally abused this left back. Like, just give him some right hammer, telling him we were rubbish and stuff like that. And then they were 2-0 down. And I think with 10 minutes to go, they scored 2, like, really late on. And then he crossed ball in for winner in like 93rd minute, you know, and he come and celebrated with us, and he nicked one at lads' pints, and he drunk one at pints, and, you know, then he come up to us after the game, and he were having a laugh, and we were like, we don't even support them, we just turned up for a laugh, that's just how we are, you know, we like to have a laugh, and he joined in, so, and he was like, I love it, and that's beauty of non-league football, you know, you can turn up and it's just fun, and people don't care because they're not earning thousands and thousands a week, so you can do funny things like that, you know, where you go and nick somebody's pint and and drink it and stuff like that, but you won't see it in Prem, would you?
It's the characters though, I think, you know, that you've got in non-league. You can go like some, you know, there's some mates of mine that play non-league, you know, some play for Rosington, some play for Armthorpe and that, and you can just go and have a chat with them and go and, you know, take piss out of them. It's funny because that's all you couldn't get out in the Premier League because they're too worried about the sport, or they're too worried about, you know, what they're going to be in the limelight or in the media and stuff like that. I just think you can go down, like you said, go down to Dronfield, and me and Jake, we've been there. It's a nice ground, but you know, when you've gone there, you know, you can talk to the fans, you can talk about, you know, ask them about the club and everything else. You just don't get, like you say, in the Premier League or even some of the clubs in the Championship and that. There's something a bit different about non-league that I think just brings everyone together.
Even this season, one at games, we played against a team, and this kid, he had a bit of a stink, to be honest, and we were having a laugh with him and throwing stuff at him. And then in second half, when they come out, they had a really small left back come to right back, and he come over, and obviously I just went, how far away is he? Like, you know, obviously finger. And straight away, centre half just looked over, laughed, and went, get your centre left back because you're going to get hammered for 45 minutes. And they just moved him to left back, and he just looked over and he went, I couldn't do that to him. So even just little things like that, you know, you couldn't do it at them levels. So it is just nice, and you know, it's just good. It's brilliant non-league. It's best football in England, I think.
I can remember a couple of years back, I was at Worksop Town, and I can't remember who they was playing, but we were stood behind the goal, and the goalkeeper asking us all these football results, saying, "Oh, so and so have gone on because I've got him on this bet," and then he's got that this team's losing, and then next minute he's just stopped to make a save, and then as soon as football's back over, Ranger's asking his bets again, who's going on, and obviously you can't gamble. You're not supposed to gamble at the top level, but again, it's something you don't get the interaction at the top level than what you do at the bottom level. And to be fair, you can be really close, like you said, you can be that close to the pitch that the players can sort of hear what you're saying and join in with the banter and stuff at the times. And I think that's what makes it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant.
Me and you had that once though, Joe, didn't we? At Goal, do you remember when Euros were on?
That's why I was smirking when Ben was talking then, because it just reminded me of that. We were at Belper, we were at Goal. They were playing Belper, and their centre half, who ironically played up front against Chasetown and scored the winner to take Belper into Northern Prem. And he had Spain. He had, I think, what is it, Spain? He had
Spain, yeah.
And we came round to dugout, and he went. Oh, I said Spain's lost. He was like, yeah, you recorded. So I fucking knew that they would lose and all this. It's one of those where you just go, oh, you wouldn't get that. You wouldn't be able to talk to some of the players like that. But when you do, it's just brilliant banter and that.
Yeah,
I think he had an hacker on, and he said let me know if any of them score. And the second half, someone scored, and I shouted him, they've scored! Spain are winning! They've scored! I don't know if you could hear me, but yeah.
No, you weren't loud enough, that's why.
I think he had balls, so he didn't want to get put off.
What about the worst ground then? Is there any ground you've gone to? Like, I don't think I'd want to visit them again.
Chesterfield, Saltergate, that was bad, that. That was just falling down, that thing.
Well, it's dangerous, mate.
Rotherham, their old ground as well, that was the same. That used to fall, that was falling down.
He'll love that if he's watching. Oh, mate.
The new stadium's nice, obviously, but their old one, you know why they moved. But to be fair, that's another one that, you know, if Boothie hadn't have been so thingy with what he was doing, they could have turned that into a nice ground. You only have to look at that stand that they were building. You know, if that had carried on, they'd have turned that into being a decent little stadium. But obviously, greed turned into what it did, and now they've got a nice new little stadium, haven't they?
It literally could have turned Millmore into Thrillmore.
It is a shame though, that nobody has actually took that ground on and tried to keep it, or even Rotherham to try and keep it for their under-21s to play on, because it has potential. There's space there to build as well, like you said.
To be fair, we had spoken. My assistant, he knows one of his sons, and he's spoken to him. But I believe it's covered in Japanese knotweed, is one of the things. But I'm not sure if they're about selling it off as officers. But it takes so much, you know, insurances and everything that they have to have, and then obviously all dressing rooms and everything have been vandalised now, and I think it's just gone to ruin. So, like I say, it is a shame that somebody couldn't have took it on, because I know they were letting Sunday League junior teams play there about 5 or 6 years ago, something like that, and then it just stopped. So I can imagine it would fit insurance. They didn't want to keep paying insurances.
Yeah, it is such a shame. But then, like you said, we've mentioned Don Valley and stuff like that, and it's just the recurring thing. We get the modern stuff, and then the old stuff just becomes offices, buildings, colleges, you name it.
Houses.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to sprint for Donny many years ago. I raced at Don Valley, and we're talking probably 2011, 2012, and the place was already falling to bits anyway. I mean, the track was nice, but like you look at that place and you think, this could have been potential for something. It could have been for football. I know Rotherham played there for a few years, but this could have been a potential for someone, a football club, whatever. It could have been rugby or anything like that, to go and make this their own club, their own ground, and it just never seemed to be the case. And it's the same with Rotherham. You know, Millmore could have been something. I would say with Rovers, with Bellevue. I know Bellevue was always falling apart, and they needed to move to a new stadium, but it would have cost them too much to renovate. It might have been the same for Rotherham. It would have cost them too much to try and rebuild Millmore, try and do it on a shoestring. I don't think it would have ever happened. But I think, yeah, with these modern grounds now, do you think as well that maybe sometimes they are losing that bit of atmosphere, given that they are these like bowl, new style stadiums?
Some of them are shit, to be honest with you. It's like Man City, prime example, atmosphere, non-existent. I mean, to be fair, West Ham, they are trying hard. They're trying to smarten up and get a better atmosphere, but they're fucking crap, new ones, to be honest with you. You want that old one with sort of intimidating atmosphere and that sort of coming on to you.
That's why so many fans enjoy coming to likes of Hillsborough. I mean, I know people take piss out of it and say it's a rust bucket and stuff like that, but it is just a genuine old-fashioned ground, and that's why people enjoy coming to it, because it is, you know, it's big and it's just an old ground, and you don't get atmospheres like it, you know, in these new grounds that are all like cornered in, and it just, I don't think there's that good atmosphere in these new grounds at all, because it just stays in there, I think.
Yeah, you hit nail on the head. You know, Hillsborough, Bramall Lane, Ellen Road, and even then, like you look at some of the team, like someone like Valley Parade with Bradford, proper old school ground. It's more of where the settings are now, because they're built so far away from the towns and the city centres. You know, they lose that kind of council house, terrace houses. You know, where same with when Anfield was before they built all the extension out. it was very tight. You're right. It loses, the atmosphere is very intense. I think now when you, like you say, your Hillsboroughs, Ellen Road, Bramall Lane, they'll always keep that atmosphere together. And it's just something special when you go to those very, well, you call it old school grounds, because it's something different.
It was something different for Darlington, but then it bankrupted them. when you think that, I don't know. I mean, like Leicester, for example, it can sort of have a good atmosphere and that, but now old school are better in my eyes, anyway.
I do agree with that one. When I look at sort of like the Brentford's new ground and York City's new ground, and just the multicoloured seats, for example, I'm like, it doesn't fit with it. I can understand more sort of York City why they have to do it because they ground share with the rugby, but why has Brentford got all these multicoloured seats? Just get them red. That's the traditional colours of the club, and just make it something different. Not just go with the modern stuff. Sorry, but again with York City, Booth and Crescent was a great ground to go to. You was compact. You could stand up and watch the game, and then now they've got a ground what's miles outside the city centre, a lot more difficult to get to. For what?
Money.
Just because they didn't want to maintain Booth and Crescent and they wanted to sell it off the flats or whatever it's going to be now.
But again, though, I think like Rotherham, like with Millwall, it would have cost a fortune. Booth and Crescent was literally falling to bits, unfortunately. But again, it's just the location, isn't it? It's 3 miles outside the city centre.
But this is the thing
as well.
Go on, Daniel. I
was just going to say it does make a difference, even if it is only 3 miles. It does make a massive difference because, that's one of the things that they struggle with, like at Hillsborough, for argument's sake. There's no parking. Bramall Lane, there's no parking. It's just little things like that. And if you have to go 3 miles out of town to get to a ground, and if there's no parking, then it just makes people think, well, I'm not really going to go. I mean, we're quite fortunate that both of our clubs you can get to it on tram and buses, but going to York, you can't really get on their ground on a tram, can you? So it does make a massive difference.
The thing is with York as well is I sort of compare York to the two Sheffield clubs. So if you're coming out of the train station, you've got Bramall Lane, what's walking distance, and that's what their old ground is now. Whereas if you come out of the train station and you want to go to Hillsborough, you're going to have to get another sort of mode of transport, and that's what you have to do with York. So it's sort of like they have something in the city centre. That's where all the pubs are. That's where the atmosphere is going to build before the game. Now it's built next to a Cineworld and other sort of facilities in that area. The atmosphere is surely not going to be as good in and around the ground than what it was at Booth and Crescent.
It's everything about it as well. I mean, when I went to York's new ground and we met Gary, who came on the podcast not so long ago. This was our bar where we used to drink. This is where we used to walk down. It's everything as well. It's all those little things that come on a match day that disappear as well. That bar loses business. No one walks down there anymore. It's just derelict.
Like West Ham with Berlin, weren't it?
Yeah.
When far away, they were absolutely fuming, weren't they, fans, because they didn't want to move. It weren't like the ground were falling to bits. They just saw pound signs thinking we'll move to a 60,000 seater and we'll fill it, and it ain't going to happen. So it makes it hard.
So going back to sort of Sheffield City, then, like we sort of mentioning, where there's some owners where they sort of they make mistakes with sort of the money wise. What do you have any sort of foundation in place? Like, well, we need to earn this much before we can move on and progress with this one. Have you got like a sort of clear blueprint, shall we say?
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you. I can't say too
much. Tell you much.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, but I can't really say on there. So while it's recording,
When I got notepad ready.
To be fair, I think even sort of like, as daft as it sounds, just little things like, say for argument's sake, when money does start coming in, players getting paid. We know that there's teams going into this season that we're going into. There's teams getting paid. There were teams getting paid in our league last season. I mean, one of managers were earning 40 grand at County Senior Second Division. Earning 40 grand a year to manage at that level is ridiculous. So that's another thing to like beat them to promotion. That's another, gives you another good sense of thing. But just like I've always said to Ashes, what we do is we wouldn't be like other clubs that'll say, oh, you get so much, you get so much. It'd just be a level playing field throughout the club. And then, you get that sense of you're keeping it above float. Players you're all playing as one, because I know a lot of players that are like, oh yeah, I can't be asked because he's earning more than me and I'm putting in better performances and stuff like that. Whereas if you get them all on a level playing field, then there's no anybody can say it's down to you on pitch to perform. So I think for money wise, that's something that I've said to Ash, that'd be, from my point of view, that's what I'd put in place, is that everybody would be like sort of earning the same little bit of money, because you don't get paid a lot of money at these levels, but it's, most of the time it's just probably your fuel that's training and your matches, because I think it's 40 miles that you can go travel within. It's a 40-mile radius, so you don't earn much for players, but when you do, I think that's something that obviously I've said to Ashes, we've always got to make sure we're planning ahead and know where we're at money wise, because what we're trying to do is, it can quite easily go brilliant and happen, or it could quite easily just go and fall flat on its face. So that's football, isn't it? I'm afraid, and you've just got to be well prepared for it.
Yeah.
It's a chance to take. I think certainly in these feeder leagues, you only have to look at someone like Wakefield, who have thrown tons of money at a club. They've got to Northern Counties as they have done, and certainly people have expected them to be right up there, fighting for promotion. They might do. You never know. We'll never know till they kick a ball in anger. But certainly with money that's coming down now, and you see owners that are prepared to chuck a lot of money and lose a lot as well. Is that sort of, maybe in the future we might see more teams do that, and maybe see more teams maybe going out of business sooner than rather later?
It depends on approach, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like this fan-owned, private-owned thing, whatever the scheme's called. Yeah, it's a good idea, don't get me wrong, because obviously there's that guaranteed revenue coming through the door. But obviously, referring back to my comment earlier on about European Super League, when you think about it at the top of the footballing pyramid, you've got your Man City, your Liverpool, your Chelsea, whoever, what they're owned by foreigners, right? And obviously, in my opinion, really, the fans are sort of pushed out and they're not allowed to sell like all the latest strips and so on. And it's like you either put up and shut up, basically. That's how it comes across to me. And obviously with this, that fan scheme, what they do with that, paying £15 for a membership and having like a sharing club, I agree with it. And I think, if I'm honest with you, more football clubs should go down that route. Football's for working man, not for businessman. I see it as anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Completely agree.
I think Wakefield as well, I think they're probably going to be like, not a 1 in a million club, but they're going to be 1 in whatever odds, because
on mute, innit?
I think we lost you there, Dan, mate. I think you can hear us.
It's a good mind. That's what he's got.
Well, subtitles underneath it for it. Like that Steve Bracknell episode, this, isn't it, when he's messing about with technology?
You can just cut out there, Dan. I don't know if you can hear us, mate, but we couldn't hear what you said. I think you can hear us. Keep this for outtakes, man.
Yeah.
That can be our job now. You're into the editing part of this.
Thanks.
Did it?
I think I think he realises now. Yeah.
His AirPods must have died.
Didn't have enough charging. That's what it happened.
Put this on your best bit.
Oh, yes.
I don't think he can hear us at all.
Just message me now. Yeah, off.
I don't know what happened there. It just went clean off.
Nope, he's back.
He's back. It was quite funny just seeing you just like keep on talking and there's just like nothing coming out.
So what I've got for the titles is Sheffield United are the best team. Wednesday, get it sorted. That's what.
So I mean, you touched on the Wakefield there, Dan, before unfortunately turning to Norman Collier.
Doing best my mate. So I would just say, like, obviously, I think there's sort of like a 1 in a million club that they're a city without a professional football team, and as I said to Ash when it first started, it's always going to be a hard selling point, and that's one of the reasons why I said to him, like, the YouTube teams, that's sort of how we should go, try and push like a YouTube channel and stuff like that, like your hashtags and all them, because there's room for it, because there's nobody up north that does it. It's all teams in south. But with the size of the teams in Sheffield United, Wednesday, obviously Sheffield FC, Worksop, we're never going to get the fan base that they are. But Wakefield, they've got their selling point, the fact that there's no club there, and they've got the millionaire owners and they can push money in like they have. We know they've spent a lot of money. We know, quite a big amount, and it can quite easily go boom for them. And I believe, watch them fly now, because they're willing to just chuck money at it like nobody's business. But it can also go boom as quick as out if they pull money out of it.
Well, you mentioned there, because it's quite interesting that, where you talk about Sheffield and geographic, because there's so many clubs around there. Wakefield, there's only really, it's your rugby league teams, your Wakefield Trinity, your Featherstone Rovers, your Castleford Tigers, really, that dominates that part of the world. So do you think that they've maybe cashed in and gone, look, we've got a really good niche market here. Let's have a football club and let's try and drive the city forward, that we can get a football club up in the pyramids?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think they're people from Wakefield, they either support Leeds, Huddersfield, Wednesday or United, and if they keep growing and growing, then there's only going to be like more kids growing up from Wakefield, going and watching them play and stuff, and that's kind of how it works, doesn't it? It's same as it did with Wednesday, same as it did with United. People just keep growing up, and same as it does now. There's people who have supported Wednesday their whole life, and then all of a sudden they don't go to games, and their kids go with their uncle who's a Blade, and then it just changes hands. So, if people are going down to watch the local teams, like Sheffield FC, non-league, on weekends off or whatever, kids start growing up and supporting them, going and watching them more, and that'll happen for Wakefield. I think they had over 500 as an attendance this season, which for county senior football, 500. It's a bit like what Allen were doing when they were getting the thousands every week at NCL. It's ridiculous. It's unheard of, but it's happening. So it's more people are clicking on to non-league, and they probably will fly now, Wakefield, and good luck to them, because if you don't have the ambition, then it's never going to work, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly for you and Ash, and speaking of non-league, how would you kind of sum up non-league football as a whole? And for someone who has probably like gone and watched your Uniteds, your Wednesdays, your football league, for someone who's not actually gone to non-league and watched it for the first time, what would you be saying to them? For someone who's just starting out.
It's an interesting experiment, really. Because obviously you get all these glory supporters. Oh, I'm not going to go and watch them. I'm going to watch Premiership football and that. But it's like it passed before Sheffield City got created. I'd been to non-league games at Worksop, around close from where I live. And I thought, well, it's not actually that bad. Friendly banter and that with fans, obviously listening to players argue, getting it bigger than that. I don't mind it. So don't judge before obviously you've been along to it. Give it a go.
I just think it's an all-round better experience. You know, you've got lads, blokes that have been out and worked all week, construction, office jobs, you know, whatever they've done, they've had long days and then they're still putting in a shift. You know, I've had many a times where I've been at work and then, you know, you've had to go and play somewhere on a Tuesday night somewhere daft, and you know, it's probably an hour or two and then you're not getting home while like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then you're back up for work again next day. So it's, you know, that's the way it is, and that's the beauty of non-league is you still get the graft from people, and all right, you're not probably going to see as pretty football as you do in professional game, but you're getting hard-working people that are just doing it because they genuinely love playing football.
I think that's brilliantly summed up, to be fair.
Absolutely.
So how often do you train? Is it once a week, twice?
At the minute, just once a week. Obviously, we still get a lot done in that. We'd probably train like 2 hours at minute. And then, I mean, we've been doing Saturdays as well with pre-season, no games. We've been doing Saturdays as well, like 2 hour fitness sessions on a Saturday. But yeah, you can only expect them to really do one session a week at this level. If you start doing more, I think they just lose interest, and it makes it harder anyway, because you never really get them, and people could be turning up to training and then they might not be there on Saturday anyway. So sometimes it's just pointless. So to have 2 sessions a week and then thing, but obviously you play. I think our night is Wednesday nights at minute. So if we get a Wednesday night fixture, then we train Tuesday night and play Wednesday night anyway and Saturday.
So being the manager then, what sort of homework do you do when you're coming up against an opposition?
I don't know. I don't want it to sound sort of big-headed or thing like that, because it's far from in that. But I've always looked at football as you should never ever go in worrying about what opposition are going to do. I'm there to win a game and win a game only, and that's the only thing that I expect. We play how we want to play. It's different to how most teams play, but you know, lads know exactly what they're doing. So I expect them to play like that, and I don't really do any homework. I mean, as daft as it sounds, we videoed our games, and when we played Wakefield at home last year, my brother, he sort of like analysed game and he watched it 5 times the night before to pick out where their strong points were from first game and everything. They turned up and they'd only got 2 players that actually played in previous games. So that's the kind of thing that you're up against. Is you might do what you can do as much homework as you want, but then players might not even be there anyway.
Well, I guess that's the beauty of this level.
Absolutely.
So, who would you say? Do you have any teams who you'd sort of class as like your sort of rivals? So you've got like you can say United Wednesday, you've got Sheffield FC and sort of Hallam Derby. Would you say there's any teams what you're facing like, all right, well, this could be sort of our Derby day?
No, not really. I just think we just get on with football. I mean, we had a team in our league last season that really disliked us and tried to make out that it was us with a problem, but it was just them with a problem. Is, you know, they dropped down a couple of leagues and they didn't like that we were new kids on block. And the thing is we us, obviously we do a lot of media and YouTube and stuff like that, and what people don't see is, as a club, we're not only doing it as a club thing, but we're also helping community by, you know, we've got uni students who do media team, you know, and Ash signs off their work, which then goes towards their course projects and stuff. And people don't see that. People just think, oh, they're just here trying to make a song and dance. And give Billy bigwigs and stuff, but in actual fact, if they look deeper, it's, you know, we're what I set out to do and be something for community, and that's what we're trying to do. And it got us a lot of hate last season and a lot of abuse from other teams and fans and stuff when you go into these like little mining towns, and it's just something that they don't really see. So, you know, we had one team trying to knock camera down because they were, you know, they didn't really like it. So it's just one of them. But yeah, we don't really have any rivals. We just get on with football, and if they want to be our rivals, let them be. But to us, it's just every game is just another game. We're here to play football, not to dish out any, you know, fisticuffs, or we've got to beat these every week. It's just we've got to win. Simple as that.
So you do your talking on the pitch and not off the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. We tried to. It worked last season, so hopefully it continues.
So, like you said, you scored 60 goals last season. Do you think you've got that striker now? What can win you the league this season? Have you recruited well?
To be honest with you,
I'll make sure I will.
honest, we've got. I mean, as leading goal scorer last season, he got, I think it was 17 goals and 18 assists. And then the other striker, he had 5 or 6 took off him, and I think he'd been on 18 goals. And then obviously the lad who scored the overhead kick, he scored 6 goals in 2 games. He should be back this season fully fit because he'd only come back end of season. And then we've just signed another lad who I had, who's dual signing with us, and he works in London in the week, and he plays for Barking at Step 4. So yeah, kind of think we've got some firepower. And then, you know, we've got one lad who was captain of Shirebrook last season, club captain. We signed him midway through last season, who's signing for us as well. So yeah, I think we've got an abundance, and I've got a lot of headaches to make next season.
Well, sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah,
lots of
as well. I mean, one of them, I think he had 13 goals, played up front most of the season, and he ended up right wing back at back end of the season. And he ended up.
Things just happen, don't they?
That just shows you as well how versatile some players are at this level. I mean, you can get it up in the higher leagues, but you don't see it as often as a player playing striker then playing right wing back.
Absolutely, I did it myself. I played every position on pitch. I were always known for filling in for somebody if need be. I were a centre half, and amount of times I've played it net or left back, left wing, up front. You just do it because you just enjoy playing, don't you? So filling in for them things.
Any other questions from you guys?
No, I think we're good.
All right, you, Jake.
No, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I just want to touch on them just on Frechville quickly. I mean, you mentioned now that they folded. I mean, what was the story behind that one? I mean, I know they have their own like sports club, don't they?
Yeah. So what basically happened is they'd sort of had a fallout with Frechville community. They wanted to put floodlights in and everything, and the community was saying no, which obviously, you know, it's another thing. So what they did is they decided to move it down to Davies Sports. So they changed name to Frechville Davies. They had a couple of horrific seasons, and then they were about to fault club, and they asked us to take it on. We took it on, and we literally took over like night before first game of season, and I think we brought in like 18 players, 20 players. So first 4 games it were hard because, you know, we're trying to get to grips with everything in Prem at County Senior, 20 new players and stuff like that, no training sessions. And then it was just hard. So, and then we played at Stocksbridge Park Steels and we beat them, and then COVID hit, and they just obviously said, you know, you're not playing anymore. And then it got to back end of season, and they were sort of doing like the cup competition. They did it as like a cup competition. And then sort of chairman just went, I'm pulling my money out and walking away, because we weren't bothered about carrying on, just because Davies were demanding quite a bit of money. They wanted, I think it was £60 per hour to train on pitch, on little AstroTurf pitch. They got no nets. It was virtually down to nothing and stuff like that. So it just made it so hard to do, and that were it. They just pulled plug and that were it. We're gone. Which, as I said to you, I think it had been going 100 years or so. So it makes it's quite bad that we've lost a club like that that's been going for so long, and it probably was caused by Fretchville, what governing thing or whatever that caused it, by having an argument with chairman because he won't put floodlights on.
I mean, obviously the club had ambitions to go higher up then.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody that's willing to put floodlights in and stuff like that, but you need them regulations to be able to go to NCL, obviously, and if that's where a lot of teams falter. We look at Swinton's that have won league for God knows how many years in County Senior Prem, and they've just never been able to go up because they've no floodlights, and it's held them back massively.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope they get that sorted, because I think obviously those Groundhoppers are in the loop that they are looking at sorting out the home ground in Swinton.
Yeah, it'll look nice when it's done. We played there last season. First team were playing at Mexborough still, but I mean, it's like Mexborough, they're the same. They've got somewhere that could be absolutely brilliant, but again, it's cricket, and if there's any cricket fans, I do apologise, but they are ruining the game. We're stopping people putting floodlights on and stuff like that. It makes it hard.
It does, unfortunately.
It's same up at Hallam. That's why you can't go around the other side of the pitch, because that's where the cricket pitch is.
Yeah,
and that sort of, again, I know they share it, but that at some point will stop Hallam from being able to extend. And so, I mean, they can only go sort of 3 ways of the pitch. If they get to the higher levels and they do extend, it's going to have to stop at some point, unless one of them say, well, we're going to move, or are you going to move?
I think it's like oldest ground in the world, isn't it, Sandygate? So, yeah. I mean, you imagine they're risen out to top divisions, and they needed to sort it out, and then they couldn't get promoted because of cricket. Are they really going to move from world's oldest ground to somewhere new just because of cricket? It's wrong, isn't it, really?
That would be a crime.
Absolutely.
Be a citizen's arrest for that cricket chairman if it got to that.
Yeah, it sure would. But
yeah, a terrible saying with Fretchville. I mean, I've not been to the ground. I understand. I think it's Burley Sunday League play on there.
Yeah,
now,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to stand behind the goal, so I look forward to seeing it. But
if I'm right, I think I have been. I think it must have been years ago. I'm sure they played Caribbean Sport. I was playing there. I'm probably talking about 10 years ago when I went. Now I cycled up there from Manitowoc. But it from what I can remember, it is a decent setup. But again, like you said, if you're not going to be able to progress just because you aren't going to get floodlights, it's another reason why you've got to make sure that even if you're wanting to push for promotion, that you've got everything in place behind the scenes, because stuff like that can implement you and stop you from getting that promotion, even if you're doing well on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them as well, when they're wanting to put floodlights on when they're in housing estates, they get stopped because of that, because floodlights being on after a certain time, they have to be turned off by like 9:30 because of people going to bed on housing estates and things like that. And I just think sometimes, like, really, surely we all use curtains. It's 2022.
Yeah.
So surely you won't be able to see a couple of floodlights going off. And let's be honest, they never shine bright anywhere other than on pitch, do they?
Yeah.
No.
Right. So I'll wrap it up with a question, what we sort of ask everyone. If you could sum up football in 3 words, that could be 3-word sentence or 3 individual words, what would they be?
Eat, sleep, breathe.
What about you, Ash?
What they said.
He said eat, sleep, repeat. What do you say?
There you go.
3 words.
I think it's just unless people just it's just a game. It really isn't a game, is it? You know, to some people it's 90 minutes, especially in a day and age now, like with people with like mental health problems and stuff. It's 90 minutes away from mental health or any other problems, underlying problems. It's more than just a game, and people who don't take interest in football don't realise what it means. But when you do, it means everything, especially to a city like ours. You know, in Sheffield, we love football, don't we? We live for it. So that's, yeah, for me, it is everything to us.
Don't think you can sum that up better, yeah. Completely agree with you there, mate. Right, so I think we should wrap it up there. I've got quite a lot in, and like I said, I'll be sure to make sure I'll come and watch Sheffield City this season. It's not far from me, all that, so.
Hopefully all 3 of us will be able to vlog it together.
Yes.
Yeah, be good to have you down.
We're playing on Saturday.
Are you playing this Saturday?
Yeah.
Kiverton Miners away.
Who, sorry?
Kiverton Miners.
Kiverton Walker. I think we're already booked up this Saturday, aren't we? But I think we'll have to come and see you in a league game, definitely. Definitely in a league game sometime.
It's going to be a tough game for us this weekend as well, because Kiverton are in Central Midlands, so it'll be a really tough game for us. But you don't progress without playing better teams.
Absolutely not. But
100%.
But no, we'll definitely have to come and see you in a league game for certainty.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're always welcome down at training, like Joe come down, you know. If you ever want to come down, just let us know and you're more than welcome to come down.
Yep.
Right, thank you for that, guys.
No problem.
Brilliant, lads. I'm sure we'll see you this season.
Absolutely.
This has been the FANA Fan Podcast. We'll see you next time.